All right, we're live. How was that? How was that? Smiling through the going live.
Think I made it. Here we
Yeah,
are.
we'll see. We'll see when the stream ends, and then you go look on LinkedIn, and it's like you're like or whatever. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Shift the Journey. My name is Tito Amogus. I'm your host. I am the host, the creative director, the producer, the everything, the cameraman, because I am me, and this is my show. This show, if you've never watched it before, I just like to bring a different person on every week, except for last week where it was just me, but that's a different story. But I'd like to bring somebody on every week, just ask them some questions about their career journey, because as you may know, the career journey, your career path is not linear. There's always some kind of twists and turns, and some twists and some turns are bigger than others. I also want to give a platform to people who have gone through some types of career shifts, so that people who are out there, anybody out there who's like, hey, I'm going to do something different than what I'm doing now, but I don't know how to get there. Like, we can't provide a blueprint, but we can definitely tell you it can be done. Whatever it is that you want to shift into, there's a way to do it. And if you are so inclined, if you'd like to connect with me and you have any questions, or Heather, I'm not sure if you want to connect with, random people from the internet. If you have any questions about things that we do or how we got to where we are, then, or maybe something related, maybe I can connect you with somebody who you can have a conversation with. So anyway, without further ado, here we have our guest this week. Yay! No sound effects. I don't have any sound effects, but yay! This is Heather. Heather is a Nashville Software School graduate, and she was also a theater stage manager. And if you think about career shifts, for me, that's like, wait, what? Like, really? When you think about it, it's like, wait a minute, hang on a second. So let's hear a little bit about what that was all about. So are you originally from Nashville?
Nope. No.
Where are you from?
Born and raised in Wisconsin.
Uh-huh. Okay. And then how did you get into the theater stuff?
So I started theater in middle school, and our middle school had a fairly large drama program. So we did one big musical every year. They cast like over 100 students. But right away in sixth grade, I started on their backstage crew. So kind of learning how things work backstage, how scenery gets moved on and off, the tracking of props, everything that goes kind of into making the backstage function I was a part of, and kind of by eighth grade was asked to sort of stage manage one of their productions. So definitely fewer responsibilities than I experienced in the professional world, but it was my first opportunity really to step in that role, the practice some leadership skills and learn more. And then also our high school had a very good drama program as well. We did 3 productions every year, so got to.
So was it musicals?
Yeah, so we did 1 musical every fall and then 2 plays.
Oh, nice. So you're one of those people who's like wearing black and running on the stage and nobody could see you because it's dark, right?
Yeah. Yes.
I am speaking from experience, not that I was one of those people in black. I was one of those people wearing a tux playing cello in the orchestra pit. That's how I know.
You saw them, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and then so you really found your passion when you were young, right? Middle school. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. And then so, what were the musicals that you did? Do you remember?
No. Let's see. Well, senior year we did The Sound of Music, and that was
nice.
The only time I was ever on stage. That's a lie. I did one other show in college as well, but I played Gretel. I was the youngest child because I'm short. I'm 5 foot. So as a senior, I was the oldest person in the show, however, playing the youngest child. So, had to do the acting thing once.
And then you're like, no, I don't think so. That's funny. Yeah, no, I'm trying to think of what we did. The the first musical that I played in was it was a Fiddler on the Roof.
That's my favorite show.
And still to this day, that was the hardest music I've ever played in my life. It was insanity.
Mm-hmm.
So then you went in, like, throughout high school, you were still doing this stuff. So then how do you get into that as an adult? Like, how did you get connected? What were you doing there?
So I did go to undergrad for theater in Wisconsin. So UW La Crosse has an emphasis in stage management. So I got some extra training there. And then there are quite a few summer internships, so summer stock theater. So I did a couple of those before transitioning, after college. Then got the opportunity to do a year-long internship in the theater, and then have, from those connections worked into other companies as well. So
wow. So is that what brought you to Nashville?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So I did the season-long internship at the Nashville Rep. So.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Wow. And then so then, like, how many years total, like, professionally, were you involved in theater?
So actually last summer was my last one. I was still doing some theater after I shifted. So we'll get to that point. But I guess, let me see, 2016 to last year. So a few years.
Yeah, 7 years. Huh?
There we go. Thanks.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, wow. So what made you? Don't be nervous. This is your life.
I know.
So what made you want to make a career shift?
So the pandemic was a big impetus for me. Obviously, in 2020, all of the theater shut down. So it was, an opportunity for me to go back and do some more schooling. I did a boot camp program. But even before that, there are things about the theater that I love, and there's also, the lifestyle that is challenging at times, right? You have one day off a week, you travel a lot to, between companies, right? Not all of them provide housing. So it's, it's a difficult lifestyle to keep up with. So even before the pandemic, I had started thinking about, what are other options? What can I start learning on my own? But then really with the pandemic, I had that opportunity to, I did the Nashville Software School full-time program. So they're one of their first data analytics cohorts.
Yeah. So was the, like, being in theater for like 7 years, right? Or like, well, before that. So being in theater for a while, and then like starting to look for something different. Was that like the norm? Like, was that what your peers were doing? Like, okay, I'm going to be in this for a few years, then I need something more stable or just something different?
Yeah, I think I don't know that, like, at that time people my age were kind of already ready to look for something else, but I think it is a pretty common thing in the theater. And then obviously during the pandemic, I think there were quite a few people who made the transition then, if not just found something temporary and then have returned to the theater. Yeah. But there were quite a few people that use that as an opportunity to leave. So
yeah, that was such a crazy time. You think about it. I was still living in Nashville when that happened, and a lot of friends in the music industry, and they're like, man, I gotta find a job for the first time in however many years. What was that environment like when things started shutting down? I mean, what was I don't know, I guess what was the thoughts like going on in like your
at the time? We were like getting ready to start rehearsals for a show, and everybody was like, oh, like a few more weeks we'll be at this, right? It's just going to be a delay sort of thing. At the time, we didn't know that it was really going to be postponed till the following season, right? Like, or years later. So I think initially there were still a lot of hopes, even through the summer, right? There were companies thinking they were still going to get to do summer theater productions as well. But you know, as that feeling started to sink in a little bit more of like, this really isn't a temporary thing. I think overall, I think people were sad, but I think there was also a lot of calls for, we should use this as an opportunity to take a step back and look at kind of those work-life things that I talked about, right? A lot of companies after the pandemic looked at doing 5-day work weeks, or other, right? There were a lot of companies that also gave actors some work by doing online readings or other things, right? So like there were, you know, I think a lot of companies had to get creative during that time, and the theater was, you know, one of them too. So
so crazy. Just like, it was so crazy, you know, just thinking back how everything, not just like your, you know, regular, I guess, I don't know what you call it, like regular businesses, you know, that would like close down and stuff. But then the whole, is not just music, like the whole entertainment industry was like, oh yeah, we're not doing that anymore. It's like, what in the world? I don't know. You know, I think about that time and wonder like what kids 20 years from now are going to be like looking back and going, that was, you know, are they going to, like, you get all the facts when you read like history books or whatever, but you know, can you get like the emotions that were wrapped up in that? So, hey, I see somebody put something in the chat. Jamil, what's up, man? So Jamil, that's one of the guys I was telling you about when we were off camera. We were in the studio, and I was actually, Jamil, I was talking about 3 at 3, and so he's one of the Tableau ambassadors. So Jamil just said, "I'm the man." No, Jamil, you're the man. So, all right. So what of all the careers, Heather, of all the careers that you can think of, like to exit theater, what made you think, hey, I want to go do something in data?
Few things. I guess I had minored in math in college. So that was sort of one of the things that I knew I enjoyed, kind of that, you know, black and white problem solving sort of activities. But so that was one of them. One of the other members of the theater that I was working at the time was thinking about doing Nashville Software School, and actually ended up doing the data science program after, during the pandemic as well. So kind of had that thought from him. And then my mom actually works in IT, so she's a solution architect. So, you know, similar role there. So that's kind of a few of the reasons why I started looking for something in data.
Oh wow. And then, so what made you choose? So I've had you know, several conversations with people who shifted, and there were always different reasons why they chose to go the route they went. And by the route, I mean the educational route. What made you choose to go to NSS versus like, oh, I'm going to go back to school, I'll get a master's in analytics or something?
I think it was because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, right? And the boot camp programs are only 15 weeks. So you know, it was during the pandemic. So I was like, worst case scenario, I do this. And if I don't like it, it's not, I mean, there was an investment in it, but it wasn't going to be a huge loss, or, you know, 3 years of my life doing a grad program, right? So I think that was one of the reasons I was really drawn to that boot camp. So
did you know anybody going in?
No.
I feel like every time I get into the analytics roundtable, I feel like every like group of people is this very like eclectic group. All these people from all over, all different styles, all different everything. And I think it's pretty cool, bringing all these people together for one purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you ever, at a time while you're in the boot camp, go, I don't think this is going to work out?
I think once we got to the point where we started thinking about interviewing and did mock interviews, right? They help with that. I think emotionally I had a really hard time with that because it was kind of the like, oh, this is really happening, right? I'm not looking to do the work. Like, I think that was harder than, because I really loved the program work and all of the project, based learning that we did. So I think the classwork and kind of, learning there was always, there were no doubts at that point. It was more the interviewing, because I don't, particularly like interviewing, and shocking, right, Tito? And
like, when you like theater, it's like, well, I'll just put myself in as like an actor. I'll just pretend, right?
I wish.
Or you can show up in all black and maybe they won't see you.
Exactly. That'd be great. Yes. So that part of it, made it feel more real. I don't know that I had a ton of doubts other than, I think for a while I was like, oh, this is a really big decision. But I think one of the big things that helped me was our instructor said, like, as we were looking for jobs and kind of talking about, right, the different opportunities that are out there, it was like, well, how do you even know what to look for, what to pick, or, like, what is this? And he was like, it's your first data job. It's not your only one. It's not the forever job, right? And I think that was really reassuring to me at the time. So. Oh
yeah. Wow. So, I know at the end of Nashville Software School, like the end of your cohort, you have like the demo day, right? Yeah. And then how long from the demo day did you get your first interview?
So the weekend after I graduated, I had someone reach out to me on LinkedIn. And then I think I interviewed with them within a week or two. And by, I think it was a month to 6 weeks, I had started.
My goodness.
I know.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Were they part of demo day? I mean, were they there, or did they? I don't remember. It was like virtual.
It was virtual. I don't think no. So I didn't interview with that company. No.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Wow. So I had actually posted one of my dashboards on LinkedIn, and through a connection who had engaged with the post, right? Then this company had seen them and reached out. So.
Oh yeah. Hey, so look at the chat. This happens often. I don't know if it's like the integration between the streaming platform and LinkedIn, or if it's like the user's settings. But because I'm not going to go into LinkedIn right now, but I don't know who you are, LinkedIn user. Hi, LinkedIn user. Thank you for tuning in. I don't know. Sorry. Okay. And then, so like one of the reasons why I asked you that question is because people often ask, oh, how long is it going to take? And I'm like, it's different every time. The job market is different. When you graduated versus like when I got out of the military, the job market was different in 2015. People ask me, how long did it take? And I'm like, well, one of the things is I didn't know how to write a resume. So it took me like 6 months to get a job, Shoot, it took me like 3 months to get an interview. So what's the, out of all the things that you learn at Nashville Software School, and I know this is like a super broad question, and you can apply the answer to like career type stuff, data type stuff, just experience type stuff. But what's your biggest takeaway from having gone through that whole process?
Everyone should learn how to use Excel. Just no, that's really a takeaway
from that's a good one. Yeah. my gosh. Oh no. Oh, tell me why. I'm gonna be like Backstreet Boys. Tell me why.
Well, like I said, it was sort of a takeaway from today of just like, oh, so much could be easier if you just spend some time learning all that it does, right? Like I think there's so many use cases for it that it doesn't have to be data, it doesn't have to be, really you don't have to be crunching numbers, right? But there's a lot of benefits to using it. So
you talking about like you as like the developer or like the business user?
The business user.
Oh yeah.
But also me. But like I need to, but the business user.
Yeah. What kinds of things have you seen that you're like, man, this person really needs to learn how to use Excel better?
I think even just what I call basic stuff now coming out of that program, but I didn't know how to do a VLOOKUP before coming out of Nashville Software School.
Oh yeah.
Because it wasn't ever really something I needed when creating paperwork for the theater, right? It wasn't something that came up, but now I use it all the time. And I think, a lot of people could, benefit from it. So.
Oh yeah. I'll add one too, like pivot tables.
Yeah.
Learn how to use pivot tables and filtering in pivot tables. I once worked at a place that like the product of an application was an Excel workbook that had 15 tabs on it, right? Mm-hmm. And each of those 15, aside from, one of them was the raw data, and then like you had all these different sheets, and each of those sheets was the same pivot table filtered differently. And I'm like, this file is 250 megabytes. And so like I had a developer laptop, I got like 16 gigs of RAM, got a good processor, all this stuff. And I'm like, yep, okay, it takes a little bit of time, get up, go get some water, come back, and it's up. Business user is like, hey, I can't get into this. Why not? They're like, it was up for like 45 minutes. I got an email and then my computer crashed. Because it's 250 megabytes. Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do? So yeah, definitely Excel usage, good Excel usage, business user and developer. Yeah, that's good. So what was your biggest challenge, I would say, in shifting from theater to data?
Learning all the acronyms and like just business in general, right? I didn't have any sort of business degree or background, never really interested in learning it before then,
Mm-hmm.
So just even learning about finance and sales and this is how we run a company, right? Like just stuff that maybe isn't, integral to every day of developing a report, but you have to learn how to speak the language of, of the people that you're working with. So I think that was harder things.
Did you hear that? Is that thunder?
Yeah, it's about to storm, and we've lost power here like 3 times in the last week.
Oh my gosh!
So, I was going to warn you, but
oh yeah.
I'm glad you.
Well, it's okay. I could interview myself for the next, I don't know, however many minutes.
Okay. Just wanted to be clear. I did hear that you can sing, so I think that they.
I don't know who told you that.
You did. One of
the. Oh, I did.
Yeah, you sang the national anthem. So.
Oh, yeah. No, I did.
You could stall for a while.
Yeah.
Actually, it might be a while, so maybe just cut the stream if that happens.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna sing on this here. I'm not sure how that'll work, but I'm one of those people who moved to Nashville with musical skills, but who did not move for a musical career. Mm-hmm. I just happened to my family lives there, so like and so it was just coincidence that I have, because so I had people like, oh yeah, so when you retire from the Air Force, you move into Nashville, you're gonna start your music career. I'm like, bro, I'm 40 years old. Who starts a music career at 40 years old? And it was not like my interest.
That's what this podcast is about.
So, yeah, I mean, yeah, but no, I moved to Nashville because one, my family is there too. I wanted to get started in analytics, and the place where I lived, which is where I coincidentally live now. It's not, there's not a lot here for somebody who's trying to get into tech.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's part of the journey. So, let's see since you didn't have, I was going to ask you questions about like the interviewing process and like your resume and stuff like that, but your time, that time in there was so quick,
Yeah.
Oh, hey, we got a question in the chat. So Jamil says, did I retire from the Air Force? I retired from the Air Force. I served in the Air Force from 1995, which is probably before Heather was born, to 2015. 2015. I make that joke all the time at work. One day I'm probably going to get in trouble, but I served from 1995 to 2015, retired with 20 years and 29 days. I know some people who have it up to the minute and the second. It's whatever. It says that on my DD 214, which is what you get when you separate from the military. But yeah, Air Force all the way. First one in my family to have gone to the Air Force. Everybody else went into the Navy, and my mom tells everybody, "Oh, I don't know why," because like my mom's dad, her uncles, her cousins, her grandfather, they were all in the U.S. Navy, and she's like, "I don't know why he's the only one," and I'm like, "Mom, the Air Force didn't even come around until 1947, so all my relatives before, they were all older than me. They joined." Before World War II, there was no Air Force, so whatever. Anyway, but enough about me. So
you can keep talking about you.
No, I know, because you don't want to talk about you, but we're here for you. You are the guest, and so is there? Okay, here's some stuff that we talked about like before when we were in the studio. What were some of the challenges, cultural challenges, that you came across going from theater to business to data? What were some of the cultural challenges?
I think the one that I was like most worried about was just kind of the stereotype that I had in my head of like, right, everybody wears suits and it's a bunch of dudes doing stuff that I know nothing about, right? And like I think that was what I was most worried about. But I don't know that there's been a huge difference other than like in the theater world. I lived with some of the people that I worked with, right? Or we spent a lot of time together, right? Whereas now it's a little bit more contained. We still, I'm lucky to have coworkers that, we do get to do some on-site trips to Lansing now, so I can travel with some of them, and but it's still a little different than and constantly being around and really creating this thing with them every night. So
so I bet like some of that feeling was like when I was in the military. I had this group of friends who we all went through the same stuff, same experiences, living through the same stuff. And then you get to some place and these people don't know anything about that life, about that world. That's kind of challenging, huh? Yeah. You feel alone. I'm not a psychologist or anything, but I mean, if you did, I know I did.
Yeah, no, I think it was, and the team that I joined right out of the boot camp, right, it was all dudes who had at least 10 years of experience, right, who kind of on my team, right, who knew a lot more than I did. So I think that's fair. Yeah. Different experiences than I did, right?
Yeah.
I have to remember.
Yeah. And like, I know you're not going to bring it up because we were talking about it, and I said,
your mom's listening.
But no, yes, mom's listening. I'm not going to say the words, but I can say that, coming from the military, it was not always a bunch of dudes, but like I did work in maintenance for years. And so like missile maintenance and aircraft maintenance, and even the women who were out there talk like sailors, right? But we're airmen, right? So And so going from that to like the business world, I'm like, oh, I don't want to say anything that not that I'm like cursing or whatever, but like I don't want to say anything that might be
Right.
taken, like somebody might take offense or something.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. You're not going to expound on that, huh? Yeah.
But I think that's why, like, because you were in the round table when I was
Yeah.
at Nashville Software School, right? And I think you were definitely one of the fun people to talk to, right? And then we got to host a round table together. So I think, you gave me hope that not all of them were serious. That was me adjusting the tie, just so we're clear.
Most of them are. No. Yeah, I thought, yeah, I'm trading in my uniform for a suit. I guess I'm going to be wearing a suit. And then I get to Nashville and my sister is like, yeah, like Nashville business casual is a little bit different than like LA business casual or like New York business casual. And I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And I found out pretty quickly it means something different at different companies.
Yeah.
And so when I was at Health Trust, it was, you wear, whether you're wearing a polo or a button down, you have it tucked in, and you're like casual, you're wearing khakis, whatever. And then at the general, when I went to go
Mm-hmm.
like walk around and meet people on my first day, I'm wearing a suit and I'm talking to it's not the CEO, but well, he was the COO, and he's wearing he's got a button down shirt that should clearly be tucked in, but it's not. And like jeans that he looked like maybe he was mowing the lawn in, and shoes that like old tennis shoes that he was probably gardening with. And I was like, this is weird. They're like, oh yeah, we do business casual. I'm like, that's not what I thought business casual was. And you always have a cast of characters in Nashville because you have people who came for the music and then stayed and then got out of music and were like doing other things. Have you run into anybody in your time working in data who knows anything about theater
Yeah.
or who like experienced it?
Who experienced it? Well, people who definitely had done theater in high school, which I know is,
It's like the minor leagues for you.
Right, that's what I was going to say, but then I was like, I don't know that I have met anybody who's like been on Broadway or just, toured or done anything like that. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure they're out there, but I think there's like a group that is like actors who code or something, right? So like I think that there's quite a bit of, right? I think there is a group of people out there who are, maybe act as well as have some sort of, tech career as well. So
that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because like what I was saying like before about coming from a completely different environment and then you're like, oh, I kind of feel alone.
Yeah.
It's good to know that there are groups of people who are, in the new industry who have come from, something that you were part of. Oh, actors who code. That's interesting. It's really interesting. So, I'll come back to that question. I know I didn't finish the question, but I'll come back to it. So what's something that you're involved in that's like unique or interesting or exciting?
So I think you were going to ask me what am I passionate about, and I'm glad that you didn't. Yeah, no, but I think in my new life of now being away from the theater for only 6 months now, so I'll be realistic there. But I've recently moved in with a boy, but he owns he owns like 63 acres of land, and we have this huge garden. So I'm getting into gardening. So that's my new interest right now.
Gardening? Oh man.
Yeah, which is like a lot of work. But
What are you growing?
Literally everything. He really likes hot peppers, so we have a lot of spicy pepper plants, which I will not eat or go near. But then we also have like a raised bed full of lettuce and strawberries and carrots, onion, and then of course a bajillion tomato plants. So pray for me there, because who knows what's gonna happen. I'm just gonna be every day.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Under the hot sun.
Woo. Yeah.
My my brother-in-law, who I had on here a couple weeks ago, he used to have me and my sister used to have a place out in Rockville, pretty close to Arrington Vineyards. You know where that is?
Yeah.
Like he would tell people, like, I was like, oh, I live in Rockville. They're like, I don't know where that is. And I would tell people, oh, it's like halfway between Franklin and Murfreesboro.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, like off in the country. And they're like, but what is that near? Arrington Vineyards. Oh, I know where that is. It's like a bunch of drinkers. A bunch of alcoholics. But yeah, they were growing all kinds of stuff. And I think it's funny because like they decided they were going to move back to the suburbs. So they actually moved to one of those neighborhoods, those newer neighborhoods that is like, somebody came along and bought a farm and then like developed a neighborhood where the farm was. So it's like, to me, it's like the people who want to live in the country but don't want to have to deal with all the land, or people who want to live in a neighborhood but they're okay with the commute because they don't want to live with, higher cost of living. So, I mean, win-win, I guess. But you out there, Farmer Heather, out there with the straw in your teeth and the hat, right?
I got the hat. I do have that.
Do you have any animals out there?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
I want a dog, but then he's also talking about chickens, which we'll see about.
Oh yeah, my sister.
I prefer a goat, but we'll see.
What about the alpaca with the glasses?
Right, exactly. I could go for that. Goat, llama. Could get behind either. Yeah.
If you had, okay, here's that other question.
Ready.
If you had something that, based on your experiences of shifting your careers, if you had some piece of advice to tell somebody who is thinking about making a career shift, what would that piece of advice be?
I know this is on like a meme or a GIF or something, but the phrase, be brave enough to suck at something new. I think that's kind of one of the things, where it's like you got to start somewhere, and in making that transition, right? And so I think that's typically what I hold on to, and then just, of course, LinkedIn is your friend, which sometimes I was really uncomfortable with at first, and still am. Again, like having to post about yourself, but I think a lot of great connections, a lot of great, connections. People see your work. So
I meant to ask you, like, way back when you got that message on LinkedIn when you were like just graduating from NSS. Did you think, oh, this is some kind of scammer? Or is this real?
I don't think I had seen quite as much of that as I do now, where I'm like,
oh yeah,
right, where you're like, whoa, how do you ever know, right? Like, it's just that is scary. But I don't know that I completely felt that way at first, right? I think I was still kind of within this, like, right, people who knew Nashville Software School. I think there was enough of that connection. It was a Nashville company. I worked for Aerosmith. It was the company, so like I knew that it was a big.
You say company. Aerosmith?
No, AO Smith. The water heaters. The water heaters.
I know who they are. I interviewed there before.
So, alas, but I would say it's a risk. I hear that. Yeah.
Man. Well, it was great having you on here. I think that's a really good piece of advice. I think even for somebody who's like mid-career, because when you get onto the new company, you're just not going to know everything. You probably won't even have access to everything, but you just get into it, get to know people.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you coming on here. I I was I wasn't nervous, but you were. But I'm glad that you kind of let your hair down, because I don't have any hair to let down. So
Fair.
I appreciate that. But I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream.
Okay.
Next, but you don't hang up, because we're gonna talk in the studio after this. But everybody who's out there, thanks for joining us. Next week we're gonna have Jeremy McCormick, who is also an NSS grad, and he was at one time in his life for I don't know how many years. We're going to talk to him about it, but he was a musician. So he recently posted something on LinkedIn where he's like playing drums, and I'm like, come on, man. But yeah, we're going to talk to him about his new data career, his journey, and hopefully we'll see you guys there. Thanks for tuning in. Peace out.